I'm Shane Nyland, and my co host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi 2004. This is part 2 of our conversation with Rudy Contreras, Navy Corpsman with Rainmaker Platoon. Well, man, let me put the screws to you. Tell me a little about treating some casualties. Let's see if we can get a few medical stories out of you at least.
One of my fonder memories, or a couple of them, is and I don't remember what engagement was. We're a high value target. We're pushing up on the enemy, and we're supposed to grab some IED makers, right? So we grab this guy, and he gets the good old 5.56. So through and through, he's got an open tib fib fracture, and he's laying in the field. And of course, I don't know what it is with the Iraqis. They all shit themselves when they got shot, and they all cry for Allah. But so I'm over there, and we're treating this dude, and that one little tree. It was a fig tree or what, but it was there, and I was getting direct fire, and they were shooting at me, and the Iraqis were shooting at the other Iraqi. But I'm over there treating this dude, and I get him all, spun up, get the tourniquet on him, get him all fucking bandaged up. And I'm like, all the Marines, like, I could just, everything kind of like narrows down and you get that funnel vision or that tunnel vision. And they're like, Doc. And I'm like, what? And I remember the rounds hitting by me and like, fuck. So I ended up trying to pull this fat fucker behind this berm, get him all packaged up. And we had smoked one of his friends, and another one of his guys was still alive. And I walk up, and Captain Weiler was like, "Hey Doc, you gonna take care of him?" And I kind of looked back and forth. I was like, "Okay, sir." And I just pulled my knife out. I'm like, "No, Doc, no, not like that." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I put it back, and then I treat him, and we get him packaged up. We get him in the truck, and the Marines. Oh, poor Corporal Ponte, Nick. We use his poncho. He was that gear guy, right? He always had all his gear on him. So we get his poncho, we wrap this one dude up, and we put him in the back of the Humvee. And there's three of them, right? So two are WA, one's KIA, and we're moving up this hill, and the Bradleys are coming. And you remember how the hills all went pretty steep slope,
Yep.
and something or another happened. They're like, stop, stop. They slam the brakes on the truck, and they just see all the bodies just slide forward. Boom. And I'm like, whatever. So we get off, and I actually have a picture of this. And I'm doing my turnover with the medic, the Army medic. And they're like, yeah, I got two WIA. This is what I got. And one KIA. And they're like, no, dude, you got two KIA. I was like, the fuck out of here, dude. That guy's like perfect, man. He's stabilized. He even got morphine, right? And when I did that, I went down and I looked and I checked his pulse. He was dead. I was like, there's no fucking, this guy didn't, he only had an open tib fib fracture, right? He didn't bleed out. Like, tourniquet was on him, and I started down. They snapped his neck, right? From
Yep.
the impact of the truck, snapped his fucking neck. And I was like, oh shit. But I remember arguing over this casualty because Captain Weiler at the time, he was like, he needed to give him morphine. I was like, sir, I only have one morphine left because we only got 3 stylets, which was bullshit, right? And I was like, sir, I only have one. It's like, Doc, he needs the morphine. Give him the morphine. I was like, okay, sir, I'm giving him the morphine. And fucking, I gave this dude the morphine. But yeah, that was a funny one that I thought was kind of. I mean, the dude passed away, but yeah, I thought that was pretty fucked up with that casualty. Um, Another time, I think it was during bug hunt or one of the big fights when one of the other companies had a cordoned off area, and we had just left the snake pit. So we were doing movement to contact, and we hadn't dismounted yet, so we're still on the VIX, and we're pulling up, and the good old taxi cab rolls up. We stop the vehicle, and there's a casualty in the back seat, and he has an open compound fracture of the femur, so his legs just there, blood's all over the car, but he had a tourniquet on, and we had known that they had our gear was compromised in some places, and that they were getting gear from other So we knew that they were getting their gear. And I was like, fuck this. This dude got a tourniquet. And the windlass tourniquet, there was a scarcity, right? So we didn't
Yeah.
have a lot of those. So I gave him my good old tourniquet that I had made out of my um, you know, grenade ring and stick. So I took that tourniquet off. I put another tourniquet on. And while I was doing that, I had the Marine next to me, it's Lance Corporal Tebow. I was like, hey man, I need you to pull traction on this dude's leg. Okay. And the guy, he's out of it because he's lost a lot of blood. But so we get him on the ground. He pulls traction, and you get to hear that from the leg. And the Marine that looked back, he's like, and he's about to fucking pass. Like, don't you fucking do it. And I'm like, God damn it, hold his fucking leg, Timo. And I had to get him backed up, and we send him back to Snake Pit. But come to find out that he had already been treated at the Snake Pit, and they had released him. And that's
Oh.
where they had got the tourniquet from. Because after our debriefs, I was talking to the guys. I was like, hey, you guys, he's like, we treated this fucking guy. It's like this was the second time he came back here. Uh, and then another one that was kind of funny. Again, being in the zone, I knew very little Farsi, and I think Maksud was for blood, and Alibaba was bad guy, right? So we get this dude, and we're taking sporadic fire, and we're moving into the cordon, and the Marines were around me, and good fire team leader, he takes a spot, and he's looking, surveying where we're about to enter, and it was Corporal Layton at the time. He hands me his rifle, and this is before I had a rifle, so I'm like, oh shit, I have a rifle. He hands me the rifle, and we're the car pulls up, we get him out, and he's got a bandage on his neck, and I'm like, what happened? What happened? He's like, Alibaba. I was like, you Alibaba? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, oh shit. He said he's a bad guy. So I raised the rifle and I put it right there. And then I was gonna shoot him. And then Corporal Layton's, Doc, what the fuck are you doing? He grabs the rifle out of my hand and he takes it out. Long story short, the guy was not a bad guy. He got shot and he was collateral damage, but it was one of the funnier things that, again, where I was in that situation, like bad guy, shoot. But I did treat a lot of, I treated more enemy and civilian casualties than I did Marines, which I'm very, very, I know it sounds dark and bad to say, but I was very happy of that, right? And that's come into question throughout the years. Like, how do you treat the enemy insurgents? I mean, these guys, like I mentioned, the guy with the tib-fib fracture that I treated ended up subsequently dying, and then the guy with the open femur fracture. I don't know if he lived or not, but they asked, it's like, you knew those guys were enemies and they shot at you. For me, what distinguishes us from them is, the good old Marine Corps, keep our honor clean. That always stuck to me. Is how could I keep my honor clean to revert and turn into them as a savage, right? That was the one thing that I always held on to, and I'm still proud of it to this day. Have I taken insurgents' life? Yeah, absolutely. Have I taken innocents' life? I don't know, right? Being in that situation and having engaged the enemy on multiple avenues and effects, but yeah, being treating casualties. Those are my fonder memories from Ramadi. Is those few that I had seen the enemies. But yeah, one of the harder ones is when I actually got hit on May 12th of 2004. That's the day that we lost Jeremiah. Uh, that one was tough, right? We had hit 155. That was it probably would have fucked us up more. I think it was on Route Apple. We are coming back from a KLE or something. And of course, the bad things always happen on the mission that you're not supposed to be on. And it was this ragtag group. It wasn't all of Rainmaker. I think it was some of Rainmaker, some of Sledgehammer. And we weren't even in the normal VIX that we ride in and all this and that. But we got hit pretty fucking hard. And all I can recall is just, of course, you see the flash and you hear the ring and the boom. The blast was so intense, it had blown my Kevlar from my head, and it also blew the handguards off my M16A2. And I remember us just screaming off the side of one of those big high roads into a rice paddy field. And I remember coming to and looking around, and Jeremiah was slumped over the gun. Fernandez, now retired, Sergeant Major Fernandez, uh, he was fucked up pretty bad. He had been bleeding from the face. Lance Corporal Luna, Lance Corporal Ackles, they were all kind of injured and out of it. Dobbs was the vehicle commander, and Riegelsberger, retired gunnery sergeant Riegelsberger, he was the driver, and the L-shaped door. So I just remember coming to, dismounting the vehicle, kind of surveying what was going on, and then going to the front of the Vic because that's where I recalled the most of the damage had been sustained because of the trajectory of the blast or whatnot. And just remember seeing Regal there, just this, he was fixated, right? He was missing a good portion of his face. Just remember reaching in with my finger, clearing out his airway, and pulled a couple of his teeth out. And then he was too big for me just to get him out. I don't know if it was the pure strength or if another Marine helped me get out. I remember pulling him out of the vehicle, rolling him over, again clearing his airway, putting a nasal trumpet in him, and then stuffing his face to a degree with some gauze, and making sure his airway was open. So he was unfortunately he was medevaced out of there. They were all of them were via or Casevac because we took him on a Vic, back of a 7-ton. But when I moved Savage's flak jacket, it was still smoking. He was on fire, um, where the shrapnel had entered. And as soon as I took his flak jacket off, he was still conscious. He's like, "Hey, doc," he was talking to me, and I say, "Hey, Mary, we'll be all right. I got you, devil." And then the blood just whoosh out the back of his flak. It's probably about a good 30 millimeter hole, and I knew that there's not much I could do. So what I did do is I packed it with what I could. I put occlusive dressing on it, and uh, got him up to the top of the road, and was able to continue on with that. And then he started dumping on me, is what we call it. So I started 2 IV lines on him, was successful. Got the fluids going and was working them. And then there was the chaos. Fernandez was coming up to me. He's like, "I can't see, I can't see." I just wiped his face. I said, "Get the fuck out of the way. You're not a problem right now." It's like, I got to worry about Regal and the other one. And Luna was pretty fucked up too. We had bleeding behind his eye because of the overblast pressure. And then Ackles, we call him Moose. He's just a big dumb moose. I love him, but he was okay. So they were walking wounded. And then getting Jeremiah into the back of the truck. That's when he stopped, pretty much breathing on his own. So I had to breathe for him until we got him to the EAS. But yeah, that was tough. And then watching them work on him. But yeah, well, we found out that it hit his ascending, descending aorta. So even if it was on the table in a surgical suite, it would have made. But he gave up a good fight, so we all anticipated that. But it was still hard to hear that. But yeah, Regal ended up recovering, and he ended up staying in the Corps. So did Fernie, and yeah, I myself was injured, and I didn't realize it at the time. So I was covered in his blood, my blood, and I ended up getting seen later at the BAS, and I didn't realize I was actually concussed, like severely, and I realized it the next following days when I was thrown up in the shop. Because you want to stay with your guys, you don't say nothing. So yeah, that was fucked up. But yeah, though that was probably the most memorable. And fortunately, to this day, as many times as I've been back to combat, that's the only American life that I've lost. Uh, well, the Angels got him, but I still have him. But yeah, that was a tough one. But again, in retrospect, I didn't have a lot of. I do have survivor's remorse or regret, but ultimately, I knew I did what I had to do to sustain while he lived. And unfortunately, I got to meet Mama Savage for the first time. And Savage had said a few words to me before he left, and I thought I was gonna have to repeat those, and I didn't have to. Mama Savage just looked at me and she said, "I already know." So that to me has brought me a lot of peace in the end, is knowing that mother of that child trusted that her son in my care. So, but yeah, that was good. Out of all that war and nightmare that transpired, that's a good thing that I was able to keep that. So, but yeah, those probably the last more memorable casualty I had. was the loss of Jeremiah. So, but all the rest of us, recovered and got to move on since then. So, yep, man, that's all I got to say about that.
Well, take a minute, man. Take a breath. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If nobody's said that in a while, no, thank you for what you did on that day. You you you're talking about an impossible situation, and you could have had that could have happened in a hospital and drag him to the operating room, and he would not have survived those wounds.
Correct.
But you likely saved Riegelsberger's life, and
Yeah.
you yourself were a casualty. Well, you needed a doc for the doc, and there wasn't one. You were one doc for two platoons. So again, I don't know what else to say to you, but thank you.
You said enough by just being here today, bro. All of you too, Blake. Yeah. I mean, I have no one, not, I don't think there's only been a handful of people I've ever told that story to. Because again, having endured what we've endured, there's not a lot of people that understand. And that's another reason why I came onto this thing. I'm not medicated, nor have I been. I don't even drink alcohol anymore, just because it doesn't align with me.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It brings out too much of the demons. But I still live with them every day. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I have some fleeting thought or some memory. So hopefully this will bring peace to others as well, as they listen to these stories and they understand that they too are not alone. And that's why I talked about Brian a little bit, because he he's been through it. Yeah, we've all been through it.
I appreciate you bringing up Mama Savage and the importance of, I hadn't gone to any of the reunions up until the 20th. And I was kind of reluctant. And then I kind of made the decision, okay, I gotta do this. Fortunately, Nyland came along too. I don't know if I would have processed as well as I would have if I wanted I had that. But being able to see everybody and kind of touch base, there's I'm not going to name names, but there's two different Marines that I was able to touch base with that I didn't know were hanging on to something that they wanted to apologize for. And I had no idea that they had, I mean, it didn't, they're, the tragedy of guilt is sometimes the other, you feel guilty towards someone and they're not holding on to anything. And so, you're carrying this for years and years and years. And then you finally, I'm so sorry for this thing. And they're like, what the fuck are you even talking about?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that sometimes it takes 20 years, but it's so powerful to have those interactions. And I think you said it perfectly. You get a little bit of peace. You get to put something down that you carry. And it is hard. We've talked about that a couple of times of, these stories of the military, especially in Ramadi. They don't flow very easily with people that haven't actually, sometimes it's easier to talk to a vet from Vietnam that saw the shit than it is to talk to somebody your own age about some of the things that you carry. And it just gets easier and easier as you're talking with people that went through exactly what you did. Whether it's combat, whether it's Iraq, whether it's Ramadi 04, you don't have to explain as much. And just like Nyland said, I appreciate you for sharing that story, and also being that frontline person for me when I was over there. Fortunately, I didn't need to utilize you, but I knew I had somebody like you, and also Doc Rakebrandt, because he ended up coming out when you couldn't cover. Now that I'm remembering the story, I'm remembering Doc Rakebrandt is the one that then came out.
Yeah. He came out with us
also
a lot too. Yeah.
to help cover. So
yeah, he was our senior line corpsman, so it was his responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a couple memories of him. It'd be fun to get his story. Yeah. Well, I
He
thought
ran.
didn't
He
he?
ran for Senate. He ran for Senate or Congress or something in New
That's
York. So
right.
he's up in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. This is more his story, but he ended up doing combat surgery in the hooch. I don't know if you remember this. I can't think of who. I think it might have been Wade. He had a he ended up getting a cyst on his neck, and it was like right where the flak jacket like rested. And they lanced it once or twice, but it kept coming back. It had the the seed or whatever you call it. It was there, and they told him that he was going to have to go back. Whether it was Baghdad or maybe back to Germany for the surgery. And Doc was like, or I could take it out. And we went into the hooch that wasn't being used, and eventually it became the interpreter's hooch. But Doc sat on the middle of his back. I then sat and like pinned his arms down and held his head, and pulled pulled
Stupid.
pulled that
Right.
out. I was his surgeon tech, surgical tech, and
Yeah.
and then we packed it full of gauze, and I was in charge of helping to replace that every once in a while. And anyways, but to your story, I mean, it goes back to what you said, Doc, that, even when we got hurt, no one, I mean, maybe there's a couple guys that, took a ticket home and didn't want to come back. But I think more often than not, the story is that you would get hurt and you had the option of going, but it was like, fuck that. You either covered up the wound or you bear down and push through the whatever was going on.
I think Conde's a big reminder of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even from that
I
same
still remember
platoon.
the day he was shot.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I remember the day he was shot, the through and through, and Doc Mialka, actually, he was in weapons company because him and I were in field med together, and he was a combat replacement, so we didn't have enough corpsmen to leave. So he ended up showing up to the unit, and he wasn't assigned to anybody, and I convinced him to come over to the weapons company. I was like, dude, you got to come with weapons company. Yeah, so I convinced Doc Dialca to come over, and I still remember that the day he was shot, and I was just the stupid shit we say, right? Like I roll up and I was like, hey man, you got the party started without me. Just some shit like that. But yeah, still remember Doc's face with looking. Conde was still fighting with Doc, trying to get that shit on him and cover up the wound, and kept that press on. So that's very admirable.
Yep. Yeah, he kept telling Doc to stop bandaging him up, and that the enemy was laughing at him, and then he was gonna go. He was gonna go take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he sure the fuck did. He sure did.
Maybe a little less serious. What'd you do in your downtime, man? What'd you do when you weren't out shooting folks?
I think we all remember the guy that sold the CDs, right? So I watched a lot of movies.
Yeah, well, until we ended up
killing.
killing that motherfucker on a raid. But yes, I do remember the DVD guy. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess we was calling in we couldn't figure out how they were getting so close to our fob and all that shit. I still remember one day distinctly when I was on one of my cigarette breaks. I was smoking a cigarette and it looked like a 4-inch rocket. I just remember the boosh, and it comes cruising over the gate, and then I'm like, what the fuck is? And boom, it hit the Tricon or the Quadcon full of tires and comm batteries.
Yeah.
I just remember that shit. I was like, oh, that's gonna be fucked up. But I remember that fire burning for like 2 days. But I watched a lot of movies, man. I got all the guy. I don't fucking hate me, right? Spades. I still don't know how to play spades, right? How the guys would play spades, I would just watch. I spent a lot of time to myself and just like thinking about what was next. What was I gonna do, and preparing myself for the next day. But I'd been in combat a few more times, and I was just found that staying in the zone kind of helped me and prevented me from losing track and sight of what was next at hand. I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but that was my survival skill, was just staying in the fucking zone, man.
I mean, not really, man. I mean, you listen to stories like from Tiger Woods, just to use an example from something completely unrelated to combat. That's what he talks about in golf. Like if you see him take a shot, he's not even thinking about the shot he just took. He's thinking about 3 shots ahead and planning the whole course. He's walking the course in his mind. And that's a good way to stay in it and perform at a high level. So that's not a wrong thing to do at all. It's probably a good way to do it.
That's helped me get here this far. So yeah. Good work.
Well, you have any funny memories of anything? Anybody do anything goofy other than Kuroda and and Hodges fighting over a rifle in the middle of a gunfight?
Uh hazing. Let's talk about hazing. It's all fun
That's
and
a good
games
one.
until someone
That's a
gets
good
broom-
81 story.
until someone gets a broomstick up their ass, right? I think one of the funnier things was the phantom shitter, right? So the the shitters, we couldn't have you're not supposed to go shit in them because the septic tank didn't work. Hodges, man, I think he was always on the look. I think it was him. I think Reagan was the phantom shitter, but someone would always just go leave a fucking nice, healthy fucking dump in there. My two was either Hodges or fucking Ackles. Maybe they'll divulge the secret here one day, but yeah, I think remember Reagan walking in, he's like, God damn it, you're jerking your shit in the. You ain't supposed to be back here. And Ackles just kept going, jerking his shit. So it was just fucking hilarious. There's always just that kind of weird shit. And I think one time Safui, we made him do Ninja Turtles, and he was hairy, so we shaved 81s into his back. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was hilarious. But yeah, just that. I mean, that's how you build camaraderie, right? Like no one was ever really offended by that shit. We said the most racist, misogynistic, bigoted things that could be ever done, and no one ever took it personally, right? No one ever took it personally.
Yep.
But yeah, I have so many very fond memories of that, right? And it's weird, seeing the young Marines today. Like I had mentioned, I had 2-4 on my ship when they were doing their MU workup, and I go in there, and typically the mortar platoon only had the one token black guy, and I'd found the mortar man, and I was like, which one of you fuckers are 41s? And they're like, we are. I was like, wait a minute, 1, 2. Wait, you guys got 3 more black dudes than you're supposed to have. And they all start, and now mind you, I'm already in my late 30s, right? And these guys are all 18, 19-year-old
Yeah.
fucking kids. They're like, who the fuck is this chief walking around the boat in his fucking blue uniform talking all this shit? And I was like, yeah, you fuckers don't even know. But yeah, it's like you little fucking boots, right? So I think my wife always remembers this is me getting phone calls like at 12 in the morning. The Marines either stabbed themselves or got stabbed in a bar fight, and I'd go suture them up at the fucking barracks. And
Yeah.
it's like, why are you taking 3 hours? I can't leave without drinking a beer. So I think there's a lot of those memories which aren't really hazing me. But again, I get stories all the time, like Blake was saying. It's like, oh, now I kind of remember. But yeah, just those fucking stories, man. That I can't believe we survived that shit. Not even in combat, but in the rear, with the gear. So I think one of the harder parts was Ramadi, going from Ramadi to going to Okinawa on that 31st MU. I took Doc Rakebrandt's job, so I was senior line corpsman
Oh,
for
okay.
weapons company in
Yeah.
Okinawa. And yeah, that was really good because I got to bond with the Marines a little bit more from all the other map platoons, and then see them, interact with them more, and kind of share those stories. But that was difficult, from going from fighting for your life to fighting for your rank, and retired. I could tell you how many times we did some shit, whether it was skinny dipping in the pool or fucking out in Kville getting fucked up, and just getting into fights with the pogues. So, but that's that. So many of those great memories. This isn't from Ramadi, but we were in Fuji, and Ninth Crime or Ninth Com was there, and they were having their mess night, and they were all in their camis, and we're on Liberty. And one of them popped off and said something. And Shane, you might remember Shard and Lashard.
Oh, yeah.
Lashard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we got in a huge bar fight there, and they ended up calling all the police, and they had to lock us down. They had to lock the base down, but we beat the shit out of those guys. But I think that was one of my most fondest and fun memories, was getting into bar fights with the Marines. That kind of shit, that always brought me fucking a chuckle. So, but yeah, plenty of those stories.
I'll be honest. I think I've seen more stab wounds in the barracks that needed to get stitches than I saw in combat. So,
yeah, by far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you? So you kind of you touched on that you were part of the transition over to Oki, and you were running hard there towards the end, and you also briefly brought up the left seat, right seat. What do you remember of that last little bit? Getting brought over to became Camp Ramadi, but Junction City. what do you remember the transition for that coming back, and then the last part of that deployment?
I still remember it being really tough. Like, I felt like there was some residual or unleft business to be had. You know, because we're almost, as you guys recall, we're almost combat effective, right? So we lost a lot of guys that had to go home early or that were put in non-commission, right? I felt, and then I'd lost Jeremiah, and we lost our other guys too from weapons, and it's just I had that residual, like, held on to that for a long time, and even going through the RIP, there was when we're doing the RIP, we're in a log train and we're I think we're taking the guys from 2-5 out to Snake Pit, and we came into contact. And again, you become numb, right? So there's a small tick, it's a few RPGs. They disabled the 7-ton. The 7-ton had got hit. The brake line got hit, so it locked up the back wheels and they couldn't move. And I remember those guys from 2-5. Now, remember, they were combat tested before because they were OIF-1 guys. So I think they felt kind of cocky and they knew what they were getting into, but they had no clue that what the fight in house to house was. So I remember just dismounting my vehicle, and I opened the back of the 7-ton, and I remember the look on the face of a Marine was just in shock. And I just remember grabbing the guy. I said, "Fucking dismount!" And I just grabbed him. I pulled him out of the fucking vehicle. I said, "Go fucking fight!" And I fucking kicked him. And I got back in my Humvee and I just sat there and I was like, "Yeah, it's all you guys," Because again, I was like, I felt I felt bad for those dudes, and they did go through their shit a lot. And I'm still real good friends with a few of their docs, right? That they've done that we're on that deployment with. Because we did RIP with them there in Ramadi, and then we did RIP with them in Oki. But that transition was really difficult, and was like coming out of that phase and then going to what we call shore duty. How do I live up to this again? And I felt with and battled with that for years. Again, is trying to chase that same level of camaraderie that I had with you guys, and then and how does that work with me staying in the military? I have yet to this day found that again. One of the closest I had is just these conversations. I'm not chasing it anymore, though. I found that it becomes exhausting, right? And it does weigh,
Mhm.
right? Being at the more, and I can understand the reserve. I'd missed all the other memorials because I was still active duty, whether I was deployed
Yeah.
or on an operation somewhere. But that 20-year mark was the good one for me, right? Again, a little more mature, a little more.
It was very cathartic.
Yeah, very cathartic, very much more in tune with myself. And then hearing some of the stories, and I'm like, this guy wasn't even there. Like, and unfortunately hearing some of how the family was reacting, uh, that kind of hit me. Like, the family was kind of demanding a little bit more attention that they felt they were entitled to. Uh, and it was just weird. I think there was something on one of the pages, like the one of the Facebook pages where a family member is like, "I'm the brother-in-law of," and I don't mean to discredit or take away from our Marine, "My brother-in-law so and so, this happened. We're being kicked out of a house now. Nobody cares about us." I'm like, this is just weird. Like, where is this guy even coming from? Like, I didn't understand that.
Sure.
And then hearing some of that where the guys had held on to some things, and to me, not saying I'm better than anybody, but I kept going back into the shit, right? Like, a lot of guys were one pump and then they got out,
Mhm.
right? Either because it was their time or they just chose to do so. Um, but what I appreciate is how well you've done, Blake, and how Shane's done in your lives, right? So I don't give those guys too much credit to that effect or degree. Like, if you're just holding on to it, man, you got to let go of some of that shit and make something of yourself. Don't just be that guy in the VFW talking about that one tour. I was referred to it like the Al Bundy, 4 touchdowns in a high school game. Like, you're not in high school anymore, bud. You got to grow up, man. There's a whole nother world out there. And now, as I alluded to, this is probably going to be my Twilight tour. I'm not afraid like I used to be. I'm not fearful of what's next. If anything, I'm looking to embrace the next journey, even though I am fearful of, like, interacting with the civilian population. I've kept a very close circle. I think at my home now, it's my wife and my two younger sons, which is 20 N18, but we don't have friends. We do have associates, but I think I've had one family over here, and that was KK and his family. But I haven't allowed people to be into my circle yet. I look forward to that, maybe embracing some new endeavors and relationships with people that aren't just military. But
Dude, I'm
I
gonna
do
tell
hold it
you,
very sacred.
I'm gonna tell you that what you're describing is more common than you realize. I don't know anyone who is just straight up open, hosting Tupperware parties and like, like none of that shit you see in the movies. And I say
Yeah.
that because I don't know anybody who not from our cohort of people. I have
Yeah.
some civilian family members and friends who have a big, network of people, and they interface with them all the time. But out of our guys, I don't know anyone who does that. They keep it tight, and that's it. Like there's no outside folks really. I mean, shit, I went to Disney World last year, and we didn't invite anybody from the neighborhood. I went with Blake and his family. So because I can't talk to anybody else, so it just doesn't work out. Yeah. And so that's not a bad thing. Now, you said when you came back in 2004, you had same wife as you do now
Mhm. Yep.
and young
Still
kid.
married. I was just at dad, right? So
Yeah.
she had my son, which was 5 at the time, and my daughter, which was 3 at the time, which I, ended up raising. And then we had 2 of our own. So I have 2 biological children of my own
Okay.
that my 2 sons. So I have 3 sons and a daughter.
My question was less about, I mean, that's great. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you've done that. But my question was less of that and more about what was it like coming home? Had to been
It
weird,
was
man.
tough, man.
Yeah.
Uh, so PTSD, right? There I was drinking a lot. I think I was maybe putting a tabber away a day, and then still going to PT, and because that's what we did, right? The Marines, like, wow,
Yeah.
fucking, and how many runs or ruck marches have we been on that? Everybody smelled like fucking booze, right?
Yeah.
And that was really, and shit. There was one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I was strangling her, right? I thought someone was coming to get me. Uh, so she's been the rock. But yeah, she's endured all of it, man. I mean, she's got PTSD from me. I mean, she's one tough bitch, right? But
Jeez.
don't say that, right?
I'll mail
She's
her a
like,
Purple Heart.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
It's like I deserve a Purple Heart, and which in all actually she does, man. Like, uh, for fairness here, because fuck equality. Because if life was fair, it wouldn't be so beautiful, right? That she shared the weight. She's carried that weight,
Yeah,
and
that's very true.
a lot of that. Yeah, so I can't commend her and then the families anymore, right? Even to this day, my kids don't even know what I do, and I think that's what's really helped me maintain that balance, right? They don't know. I don't tell. Then they know I've been to combat, sure, but they don't know. I don't sit there and well, Dad, when Dad was with the Marines, I carried a rifle. No, man, I don't do that. That's not their burden to bear, and I feel honestly that again, like we're talking about that circle. I don't feel robbed of any way. I feel very blessed
Yeah.
and bestowed a lot. Because I get dudes all the time. I think I got a phone call last night from a Marine at like midnight. I didn't answer it. Right, I checked the voicemail and make sure he was okay, but it wasn't a Ramadi Marine, just another Marine. And but yeah, that's some real grit. So same chick, same all that stuff, man. So
Man, dude,
yeah.
I mean, that's got to be what, 20, 21 years, 22 years?
So maybe 23. So I married her. I was in the Navy for about a year and some change. So
Yeah.
yeah, so 23 years of marriage. Yeah.
God damn, you're old.
Yeah. I know.
Well, cool, dude. That's pretty good. That sucks about the coming home and the struggle though, but did you feel like you got past it, or do you feel like you just went back to work and went to Okinawa and head to the grindstone moving forward?
It took me about latter half of 15 years to get over it. I mean,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
I'm not laughing
I
at you, but I'm like, oh,
yeah,
you could have said 15 months but no, 15
no,
years. Okay.
yeah, yeah, because again, a lot of that, I think the only thing that's kept me ahead or above float is I grew up, both my parents were fucking heroin addicts, man. Like, I raised myself at 13 and I was out of the house. And then I came back and got my mother into disability. Unfortunately, they're both deceased now, but fortunately, they're not having to suffer with what they had to suffer with. And then what really helped me is being in the medical field and understanding how PTSD or PTS works.
Yeah.
It never really goes away, right? So that I say PTS because disorder would imply that it's curable. It's not curable; it's manageable.
Yeah.
And getting to have a better understanding of that and comprehending, how that works. It has rewired my thought processes in my brain, but they've been able to suppress them healthily without being medicated. And the fact that I'm not medicated is still a wonder, right? I'm not a PT stud or anything like that, but I do find a lot of relief in like meditation and stuff like that. But yeah, it took me a good 15 years to kind of get out of that zone. And then what happened the worst was during COVID. I ran into some difficulties with that because people's inability to see or treat people humanely. For someone that has had to take a life or two, I'm real big on being humane and being humble. And when I was working with a group or a triad or a chain of command that didn't understand that these are still people and you should treat them as such, that I ran into some difficulties on USS last ship. And I should have probably went to the brig. I may or may not have tried to assault my medical officer and told my master chief he was a big fat piece of shit and my skipper that it was a spineless pussy. But, they always hit me with that, like, oh, this guy's a war hero and blah, blah. Like, dude, no, I'm not, right? A lot of precedence has been put on that. I don't see that at all, right? I just see myself as a ordinary human being that's survived extraordinary situations. I think if I was just a basic sailor, I would have probably gotten in a lot more trouble. But even for Sergeant Mac, there were some times where I'd went out in Okinawa and find myself in a little tough situations, but having him pull me in and realign me and tell me I'm not that person and I should do better, it helped me. But yeah, it still took me a good about 15 years to kind of get out of that weird funk of like I felt that somebody owed me something or I still owed all these other people these things when I just owe it to myself and that I was my own worst enemy, if anyone else. So yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. A lot of people suffer a lot of things because of their own hand more than anybody else. You can hurt you more than anybody else can hurt you. And you and I could probably have a whole podcast just specifically on talking about post-traumatic stress, but you hit on something that's very important, and that evidence-based wise, the best possible treatment for PTS and depression is exercise. Highest efficacy. So out of all the things, it sounds like you've moved along healthily, although it sounds like it took you a minute. I wish maybe we should have talked earlier. Shit, I don't know. I don't know if it would have been any better. I was probably in a bad place too, but it's good, man. Is there anything else you want to share, buddy?
No, I just appreciate the fact I feel I was getting left out. I've seen all these podcasts and everybody down there, and Doc Bundy beat me to the punch. I was like, oh, what the fuck? I feel like a second string.
It's funny you say that. I bet you there's a few people out there that probably feel that same way. And I'll tell you, we don't have any list. Literally, it has just been people volunteering so far, and we have not really contacted anybody or asked anybody specifically. I'm hoping to line up everybody. The goal is to get everybody from Weapons Company at some point, as many people as we can. We're moving on, 21 years? Some people are not with us anymore because of whatever reason. And so we're not ever going to get their story. But if we can get everybody else, that'd be great. Well, hey, man, again,
Thanks so, man.
Thank you for everything you did in 2004. But also thank you for being you now. And thanks for sharing, dude. Really appreciate it.
Bye, brother. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.
If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe for future episodes on your favorite podcast service.